ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं
कुछ
पता
बोल के देखिए मैम, am I
हेलो
audible or can
हेलो हेलो
हाँ आ रहा है आप, am I audible and can
एम आई ऑडिबल प्लीज
yes ma'am you're audible और स्क्रीन दिख रहा है कि नहीं वो भी एक बार बस पूछिए।
कैन यू सी द स्क्रीन एज वेल
नो
नो ओके आई जस्ट दैट थैंक यू आई जस्ट
शेयरिंग में देखिए। हाँ मैम दबाइए मैम शेयरिंग। नहीं वो अपने आप चला जाएगा मैम, आप शेयरिंग में।
नहीं वो नहीं चल रहा ईशा एक्शन कर ये मैं उस दिन तो आराम से कर लिया था शेयरिंग में था
हाँ
Yeah, now can you see the screen? Now visible? Thank you. Isha, um, so good afternoon to all of you. And I know it's difficult to be interactive and you can't give chocolates in a session which is online. But yes, on the chat box, I'm going to give you 3, 4 clinical scenarios. And all those who write the right answers on the chat box will definitely get a chocolate, even for those who answer it partially correct. So that's the only way I thought I could make it interactive. And I hope you understand what is the importance of this class. Now, up till now, what we were thinking as the biggest improvement in the last decade has been immunization, because immunization actually proactively prevents you to get an infection. So it's a proactive phenomena. You give it to a personalized individual, making sure that he or she doesn't get. For example, if you immunize against measles, you know that with a zero conversion of nearly 90%, if given at 15 months of age, if if given at 15 months of age, you would actually be able to prevent 90% of the babies from getting measles. So this is the bread and butter for almost all pediatricians. But now something very, very important, which we are lagging behind only by 5 decades. So mind it, 5 decades is newborn screening, and this has been in place since 1992. and in US and other countries since 1967. So we are here to discuss what is newborn screening, what all can come in newborn screening, and also discuss a little about congenital hypothyroidism. So for the first thing, I think since now with the small or the healthy baby norm, there is a paradigm shift. With this COVID pandemic, we have understood that yes, until unless we cannot prevent a third wave. Similarly, we have shifted from being reactive, that is the way we were in the second wave, to being proactive and now building an ICU for pediatric COVID patients up to 180. So, similarly, if you have a reactive and proactive approach in genomic medicine, which can predict, prevent, and is personalized. So this is a 5P program. It's a proactive, predictive, preventive, and personalized public health program, which is akin to the immunization program. And just for an out, this is from the Texas program that if you use point of care tests and non point of care tests, then you would be saving 1 in 300 lives. So, do you know what it translates down to India? It will mean that you will be saving one baby every minute being born in India. And if you explain these to bureaucrats, it's going to really make a difference because 1 in 300. So, any idea of how many deliveries would be occurring in Loknayak Hospital? So, I'll see the chat box. Any idea how many deliveries occur in Loknayak Hospital? Tape Lily. No idea. I'm just looking at the chat box. Okay. So around 1200 in Safdarjung, 40, 40,000 up to 30,000 deliveries occur in Safdarjung alone. So can you imagine the amount of babies that would be saved by just having a program here? A very, very small program. So it actually gives you an idea that you're looking at a developmental issue, giving an asset to the community, to the family, and to the nation. So, what does this all entail? Let's see what it is. It's a very simple process which is conducted by a public health worker. Believe me, I carried out the first program with 12th pass students, and so has Philippines being very successful in using youth, and in Singapore, they have to do some social program for a year before they go for an international their postgraduate examination. So until unless you understand what public health means and what your intervention could mean, it's very important to understand that anybody who is educated enough and whose counseling technique can explain to the public is good can take place in a program like newborn screening. So at newborn screening, what do you mean? I mean, a newborn is till 28 days of life. What are the time that you would want that this baby would be having a program? Now, understand there is a difference between screening and diagnosis. If a patient comes to you with a cleft lip or a cleft palate or a club foot, you can see it. That's making a diagnosis. But if a person comes to you and that person cannot hear, this is a neonate. He will have reflexes. He will grimace on its own. He will have a reflex smile. It will appear to you as if you're looking at the child and he is responding. But he probably neither hears nor will ever be able to speak. So, if you could give some point of care testing to this newborn to intervene in the prelingual phase, that means before he starts speaking. Obviously, this is one child who would not be deaf and dumb. But you cannot recognize this child clinically because all his cortical reflexes, his reflexes are mainly spinal. They haven't yet matured to adult form. There is no way a mother can even find out. There are very subtle ways that you can ring a bell, Does he open his eyes? Does he startle? But can that be done in 48 hours? So there are some point of care tests and some tests which have to be sent outside the birthing area to a central laboratory. So it can be done anytime after delivery, preferably after 72 hours. And that will be the first question with a chocolate. I mean, 109 of you have answered, and I can see your names here. So, why do you think that we should postpone testing for common metabolites to 72 hours? Any answers? Any answers? Even if you attempt, you can all hear me, I hope. Am I audible? At least put that query. Am I audible or not? Yes, so I can see something. Yes. Good, very good attempts. 100 per day, 500 per month. 500 per month would mean how many? That will be around 6,000 a year, right? 2,000 per year. 50. Yes, somebody did say 50 per day, very, very close. So the answers were that mother to child transfer of metabolites, excellent. That is Nilayan Sarkar. So there is a mother to child transfer of common metabolites, including TSH. So you would actually be checking the TSH of the mother rather than of the baby alone. And that would be one reason why you would like to postpone it to 72 hours. Somebody wrote that, ma'am, there could be, uh, that is again an interference to this is Praniti, that's good. Proper again, so that proper testing results are available. Less false negatives. Now, Trisham, why do you want to say less false negatives? I would, in a screening program, I definitely agree with you that we should be 100% sensitive at a trade off of specificity, because the screening program should not miss the case, but you should not have any false negatives. So, this is good. But the same question boils down to why there should be less false negatives. So, somebody said so that mothers metabolites clear from newborn and accurate assessment. That's Pratik. Urine formation will take time. Okay, maybe because at that time, so most of you say that the metabolites actually should clear from the baby's body. So I'll just tell you three important reasons why we do not want it to occur at 72 hours of life, before 72 hours. Ideally, though in India we can never practice that. First, all of you reported that by this time, the maternal metabolites actually are there in the mother's blood, and it's difficult to distinguish whether you are checking the neonatal blood or you're checking the maternal blood. Second important thing is many of these metabolites, if you actually consider inborn errors of metabolism, in the mother's womb are dialyzed by the placenta. So this newborn's system, even if it is not working, the placenta is taking care of everything and dialyzing everything down through the mother's urine. It's this placenta which will be taken off and will be ex utero that the baby's metabolite function will start taking. And his metabolites will come from where? Will come once the breastfeeding is full and good. And we now know that the first day is the colostrum, which is very little. By the second day, you mothers start getting understanding how to give milk and breast milk. And by third day, they are well enough comfortable, and the baby is usually on only mother's milk. So mother's milk is the substrate which will actually be metabolized now by the neonatal system. And if there is anything wrong in the metabolism, you have given it enough time to become high in the baby's blood, and once it becomes high in the baby's blood, you can detect it. So the cons is, why not develop a technology as good as detecting picomoles per liter? Very little amount. What should not be present in the neonatal blood, or create your own standards? So this has now been taken care of by much more sophisticated techniques of newborn screening, so that you can actually understand that even small amount of metabolite rise can be understood. Two important things are occurring in the first 24 to 48 hours. The first thing, the enteral feeding has started, that we discussed. Second, the renal clearance has started. So if the renal clearance is good, you will, and the metabolite is flushed, that means this perfect system is working, and this is what probably Shivika Verma, I think Shiveha Verma, would have answered a little more clearly. So I just took lead from your this thing. So the kidneys have become mature, enteral feeding has started, the liver is mature, liver metabolizes a lot of metabolites. Therefore, you would ideally like to wait for this period of time. But one of the worst things, question that you can answer in the chat box, is what is the stress of parturition translating down to hormone levels in the neonate, or the stress to the fetus is the stress of parturition itself or birth itself, and therefore all the counter regulatory hormones like cortisol, thyroid stimulating hormone, will actually rise in the fetal blood early in the neonatal period, so that they want to counteract the stress which has made them live comfortably in utero surrounded by good fluid, to ex utero surrounded by all doctors, all relatives, mothers, and everybody else. So there are three things: the enteral feeding, urine formation, substrate, the liver metabolite maturity, and of course the parturition stress. So ideally it should be done at 72 hours, and usually it is done before 7 days of age. Though, if the baby has not manifested symptoms, you can do it even later. But the traditional period across most developed countries is 72 hours and 7 days of life, because midwives visit these births at home and they are trained to do newborn screening. Now, at least I guess how many of you would be wanting to become gynecologists? A rough idea. You have 250 students. I would take probability of female students being 50%. So I go down to 125. And out of the 125, how many of you would want to become gynecologists? That is one of the richest boons in private practice. So it doesn't matter if you are in a government setting like MAMC. So any wild guess, or maybe somebody could volunteer? If nobody wants to do that, I would tell you why. They would be my biggest dushman, because if I do not discharge mothers till 72 hours, the policy being 24 hours, baby passing urine, no visible jaundice, no risk factor, accepting breastfeeds, sent home. So we would have in each bed 3 to 4 mothers, and imagine the sepsis and the problems the gynecologist will have. So in most low middle income countries, where we are developing and we have a large population which delivers in these hospitals, we have to understand that a trade off has to be done by changing the cutoffs. So we do it at 24 hours to 48 hours of delivery, and in 48 hours of delivery, so that, or if there's a cesarean section and the baby needs to be discharged later, so it is at least 24 hours or at discharge, whichever is later. Now, what are the biggest thing in a screening program versus a diagnostic program? The biggest thing in a screening program is the child looks absolutely healthy. He doesn't seem to have any illness. That's why you're not diagnosing it, you're screening it. You take a blood sample, the baby goes home after 24 hours, and then you call the baby because you have got the number written on it. इससे कि हो सकता है बच्चे में कोई प्रॉब्लम होगी और उसके लिए हम आपको बुलाना चाहते हैं और देखना चाहते हैं. Now, this reverse set of counseling in our Indian scenario is actually as if we are going to do some research. डॉक्टर पेशेंट को बुलाए तो रिसर्च हो सकती है, लेकिन डॉक्टर पेशेंट के पास आए तो वो रिसर्च नहीं होती. So we have to counsel them. Look, all the babies who are detected usually have no problems in the family. If they had in the family, they would have come for prenatal counseling or preconceptional counseling. It's because you don't have any absolute indicator. This is like any low risk delivery, but the probability of still having a disease is high. So when we call you, please come back. You may be positive, you may not be positive. But once a screen is positive, you need to do a confirmatory test. And only after the confirmatory test, you should actually start treating the child. So, what is in the basics of screening? What should be the principle of having a confirmatory test? Can somebody write down? I'll shift this back here. Yes. So, any answers for this? I'm looking at somebody to give me answer in the chat box. Yes. Otherwise, we'll go through and so do two answers in a handout. 0 out of 5. Okay. So we'll go down to the next. Maybe I'll ask you somewhere later. So the best counseling can be done in the antenatal period. Reason being that the gynecologist stays with the mother for about 9 good months. And at that time, mother is receptive. She has not had too much pain. She doesn't have too many relatives all around. And she has to understand the concept of screening, which means that there is nothing wrong with the baby at times, but there may be some false positives. The answer to my question was the screening test should be different from the confirmatory test so that what has made an error in the screening test should not make an error in the confirmatory test. So, for example, if you do TSH by ELISA, you should do TSH again by radio immunoassay or chemilucence, a different technology, so that the error that could have come up because of the prior technology may not come up again. So, the basic principles of screening are number one, screening should be as sensitive as possible at a trade off of some bit of specificity with a good pre-test counseling that there could be some false positives, with a good pre-test counseling that you may be just one out of the 1000 that we have picked up, and maybe it's your baby who could be one of those 1000 because there's nothing written on the face of the child that this disease is what he's going to act. And if you don't come back, maybe we will not be able to prevent something significant occurring in you. So that's the whole point about a confirmatory test and a different test. Also, parents need to be explained. It involves, I told you, point of care tests and tests to be sent to the laboratory, right? So let's go the next. So in the WHO manual, they have written even birth defects are not recognized in India. Mother gets to know a cleft palate after the baby becomes, say, 5 or 6 months old, specifically if it's a small cleft in the soft palate. CDH is not recognized by the mother, congenital dislocation of hip. So there are certain physical defects which are not very clear to the mother and they should be identified at birth. So that's what's called an anomaly count. And if you look at the amount of birth defects, it varies between 69.9 per thousand births and is responsible for 20% of the infant mortality. So, with this, probably even some birth defects which are not visible to the mother should be examined by the neonatologist or the pediatrician. Now, let's talk about screening for metabolic errors. or what is the normal newborn screening? So the questions are, from where should we screen? When should we screen? That we have answered. For what should be screened? How many disorders can be checked? And what should be done for all the babies? And what should be done for a specific target of babies? So what is universal or core panel? And what is the expanded or desirable panel? So that's a very common question that might come to you in your final exams. Write down the core panel for India's newborn screening. So just look at these photos. This is the heel of the baby. This is the posterior 1/3. Now remember, heel is red and warm and is a good capillary source. It's very rich in capillaries. So like you do a finger prick in an older individual to check for hemoglobin or to check for blood sugar, similarly, you can use this shaded area for pricking the baby's heel. Now, for pricking the baby's heel, what do you require? You require a set of gloves. This is a little bit of cotton. You require a lancet, a filter paper, and some cleaning steriliums or a non-alcoholic swab. So this is all that you require for newborn screening. So for blood spot screening. So how do you do this? First, you warm the heel of the baby. It's usually not required because for us, winter is only 3 months and dead winter is only about 1.5 months. It's at that point of time that you might require to put a warm cloth like this across the heel. Otherwise, you usually don't need to do that. Now you have done a sterile swabbing of the baby's heel. Here you can see spirit. You would let that spirit evaporate. You don't want to mix the drop of blood that you have with this spirit. That's very, very essential. So once you have cleaned the area, make sure that there is no overlying organism which can go in with your thing. You use a lancet. Now, what is a lancet? It's an, if I am being seen, if I am being seen, then probably I'll just show you um, what lancet looks like and how do you actually, what does a filter paper look like. So you can see a variety of lancets. If I am visible to you, these lancets, once you prick them, they have a 2.4 millimeter. This is the one that's being shown in the picture. You have a 2.4 millimeter cut area. So it goes into the baby's heel once and it automatically gets destroyed. Once you have used this for a baby, it's finished. You can't use it for another baby. So you cannot transmit infection from one baby to another baby. So what has happened? If this is the heel, you use a lancet. From a lancet, a blood of drop has come. And the filter paper actually soaks this blood. There are circles made on the filter paper, and you know how much you require as blood? Only 180 microliter of blood is required, and you can check for 59 to 60 disorders. Now, here a question with a chocolate. Uh, in the recent context on where we are today with masks and gowns and PPE kits, what can this be also used for? Uh, yes, there is an answer. That's really good. But the chat box went away. Somebody did put in a hand. Yes, somebody. Yes, very good. At least somebody is attempting to answer. That itself is very good for me. I'm just looking at where the high specificity. My God, that's really good. This individual is Nilayan Sarkar, who knows something about CRISPR-Cas9. Very good. So this is a really good batch. I wish we would have had a personal interaction and I would have had a chance to actually give the chocolate which is not virtual but real to you. And yes, somebody said antigen. So now you can use this for COVID-19 antigen testing, COVID-19 antibody testing. You can actually extract the DNA from this filter paper and tell the genome whether this is the Delta variant or the Alpha variant or which COVID variant was there in this neonate. So to give you an answer, it can not only check for metabolites, is a very good source of DNA, and you can do a lot of tests. When we go by, we'll tell you what they are. So I'm really happy that people are answering, and also gives me a moral boost that though we are not personally interacting, some people are definitely listening to you. So only those who are listening to me are important, because those who are not, they lose something. So what all do you require? You just wanted some uh, cotton, you wanted lancet, you wanted spirit or stellium, and this I can show you here for those who can see is the filter paper. So on this filter paper, this is the biohazard cover, right? You can cover this filter paper, and here you can place a barcode. So and this is the demographic part of the filter paper. You can just tear the demographic part of the filter paper, retain the original filter paper. So this good drop of blood looks the same when it is looked for in the front or it is looked for at the back. Each spot containing only one drop. So if you're not able to fill the drops, doesn't matter. But if you put too much of blood, maybe what you would punch out would be more blood and your analysis may not be correct. So this can be sent in this envelope with the bar coded. For those who want to understand, this sample was collected from Lady Harding on 17th of September in 2015. This was a male baby, 58th born after 12 a.m. So you see that the same code is on the filter paper also. So once you detach it, what are you also doing? You are anonymizing the sample. Nobody can tell you who was this baby. This barcode, unless from the lab where the coding mechanism can identify the relevant demographics, only that person. So you're maintaining confidentiality. So I'll just tell you a short story here. Now, when I went to train at Mayo Medical College, they asked me that can you give us some filter papers? We'll give you $1 per filter paper. So I was a little shocked. They have started screening in the year 1972, and in the year 2016, they're going to pay me for a filter paper. Obviously, I would never do that. So why do you think that Texas had to face a court case for keeping the filter papers? I'm really missing the hands up or the question. So, if I were to take Aishwarya Bachchan's daughter's blood spot, what could I do? If I have DNA today, what can I do with the DNA? I can clone. So I can make another baby look like Aishwarya Bachchan. That's why one of the activists said that this contains a good source of DNA, and you can clone our babies with this DNA tomorrow. The technology is going so fast, and CRISPR-Cas9 is one of those technologies, but that's mainly used for gene editing, not for cloning. But anyway, who answered that is very good that is aware of a lot of recent technology that's taking place. That's excellent. So here, if you remove this from this area, you would not be able to ever clone this child because you don't know what this barcode belongs to. So what you need to note on this filter paper is the name of the mother, the date of birth, the time of birth, the weight, whether it's a singleton pregnancy or a twinning, what is the sex. If it is an intermediate sex or an undeterminate sex, that's very important, and we're just going to go by. What time did the baby feed? After how many hours have you taken this sample? Was this baby, is this baby sample the first sample, or is it the second sample, or has this sample been taken from the NICU where the baby is likely to be more critically sick, or is this a sample from autopsy? In which case, everything is going to change if these are not taken into account. And we are going to go back and tell you why and how. So this is all. So in the process, what do? Each and every person you can't counsel. So now we have made animated pictures in which some Bhua tells the mother about newborn screening and tells her कि कोई बात नहीं, अगर पता चल गया तो इलाज तो हो जाएगा ना कम से कम. So something like that, pre-test counseling and importance of returning if called. You would only need to take the consent if it is in a project mode. While we have gone, yes, there is some question here. I'm just looking at what was it. Okay, right. DBS means, sorry, dried blood spot. So dried blood spot is exactly this, right? You have actually collected the blood in a spot form. And what you do when you collect dried blood spot, you will be surprised that you snap freeze the blood at 40 degrees, minus 40. So your analytes remain stable in this mesh of filter paper for 72 to maybe multiple months for certain analytes. So even if you courier this from a remotest place in India to reach a regional lab within the next 48 hours, until and unless it's dead 54 degrees or 48 degrees in extensive summer, where you don't want these times, it will bake the enzymes present in the blood. Barring those, you can easily courier your sample from anywhere across to 4 or 5 regional laboratories. So now everything is moving from serum to dried blood spot because you don't want to deal with all the viruses. DBS actually neutralizes most of the viruses, makes the metabolites remain stable, and you can analyze them collectively at a center. And that was a good question. And so we are doing dried blood spot for newborn screening, dried blood spot for prenatal screening also. And you would be really proud that MAMC has been given the privilege. I'll just talk to you about the Mission Knee program that you would be seeing in front of you before you pass out. Hopefully, if this COVID allows us this much time, right? So pre-test counseling and importance of returning. In a program setting, you don't need to take the consent. Do you ever take the consent for giving BCG to a child? While 0.1% of patients given BCG or DPT might land up with some problems, similarly, some babies with a bleeding disorder might bleed a little more on the heel prick. But since our population is yet not literate, and you are doing this in the best of interest in a proactive, personalized, predictive manner. So the philosophy for all programs is to opt out. अगर आपको नहीं कराना तो साइन कराओ, करके जाओ, क्यों नहीं कराना. बट अगर आपको कराना है तो साइन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. You should take a sample from the heel prick. Once you have taken a sample from the heel prick, any attendant, could be a nurse, orderly, or even a 12th class student who's dedicated, will take the sample, give it to the data entry person who will feed it into a screening center, and then finally it reaches the lab. So what do? Once it reaches the lab, you analyze the sample. If you get an abnormal result, you first want to look at yourself. मेरी lab technology में तो कोई गड़बड़ नहीं थी कि result has come out abnormal. In that situation, for example, if you can see this filter paper, I will not take, can you get a punched filter paper also? Right? So you would take the sample from another blood spot which looks as good. So when you take the sample from another spot without calling the child back again, you call this a repunch. And that removes out analytical errors. But if the repunch is also abnormal, you have taken from 2 different blood spots, it's telling you that the TSH of the child is more than 100. You will obviously recall the patient. You don't want a patient with hypothyroid to stay without treatment for a long time before getting a confirmatory testing. Therefore, there are 2 processes, a repunch from another spot and a recall when you call the baby. So you have to be very gentle in counseling that there are some results that have come up which suggest that your child might be having a disorder for which a different technology has to be used. Only after that technology is done, we would be able to tell you, and we will treat the child in a time frame that when he grows up, he is like any other normal individual, and therefore, that is what it is. So, I don't know for those who can see me and who can see the punches. So, from this central blood spot, 4 punches have been taken. I hope I'm visible. I'm just trying to check whether my visibility. I think I am. So if otherwise, whenever you are posted to the genetic lab, I don't know whether you would be or not. You can see this process occurring almost every day in the lab. So treatment should be initiated as fast as possible. Okay. So I hope if the video works, I can show you. So you have a 8, you put ELISA spots here, right? I'm just showing you a demo of how this blood spot is punched. Okay. Now you can do it. There is a sensor which recognizes the blood spot, and he is keeping the now. The barcode has been read by the machine, and you can see that's the spot going well inside the ELISA lab, ELISA plate. And this is the second spot. First, you always put the barcode so that the instrument recognizes the barcode, and you always put the biohazard paper back. So this is how this is done. And then what do you do with this? This is done in an automated machine. You put the plates here, and this will tell you what samples are running. Yes. So you are going to see this plate being put here into the chamber, and that's all. You close the lid. It's a completely robotic process. So here he's trying to put who's the operator for what the test is being done, and it is showing G6PD is running right now. So you were able to see that from the time of collection of the blood spot to the time of punching and analysis, the process is almost completely touchless, right? So now, if this was so simple a process, what are the disorders we should be? Yes, there is a question. Let me just see what the question is. Can you lift the filter paper? Yes, I can definitely lift the filter paper a little bit. Yes, if I am visible now, if you can see the spots in the filter paper, in this there are 4 spots, in this there is 1 spot. I hope I'm able to make you people see the filter paper. Otherwise, anybody is welcome to see this filter paper anytime in the laboratory without any issues. So now coming to a few more questions for all of you. This criteria is very, very important. And I'm going to, before I go on to the next slide, I'm going to ask you a few questions. So you should be screening for disorder, which is an important health problem. For example, if a disease is as common as uncommon as 1 in 1 lakh population, if you do Loknayak alone, you will require 10 years to get that one baby. And for those 10 years, everybody will be disheartened. You're not getting any positives. You're not saving any babies. So what's the whole point of including this in the program? So the condition screened should be an important health problem. You should understand the history of the condition. That means this condition either gives rise to significant morbidity or contributes to mortality. You can detect it at an early stage before any insult to any organ has occurred. Treatment should be available. A suitable test should be there. The test should be acceptable. Interval for repeating the test should be determined. Adequate health services should be made for the extra clinical workload. The risks, both physical and psychological, should be less than the risk of the program, and the cost should be balanced against the benefits. So now, from all of you, I want to ask how many, what all are the disorders you think should be included in the Indian newborn screening program? So I'm waiting for the answers to appear. At least I've talked about one. Yes, good. I got an answer there. Let me see what it is. So I had a lot of good answers. Hypothyroidism, yes. Sickle cell anemia, yes. So 2 of G6PD deficiency, yes. Phenylketonuria, right? Very good. Now, I have some questions and I'm going to go. I'm really happy somebody wrote thalassemia. Until last year, we were talking about not being able to detect thalassemia. So this is Rohit Aswal who has written thalassemia. And being a geneticist, believe me, this is the commonest disorder we see. And if we were to detect it, it's a disorder with significant morbidity, yes. It's a disorder for which treatment should be easily available and surveillance should be done, yes. It's a disorder in which you can screen and the age at diagnosis of thalassemia is much beyond 6 months. And if you do a genetic testing, you can actually do a prenatal testing for the next kid. So you benefit the family, yes. My only problem at that time was, do we have a reliable test? So now we have also standardized screening for thalassemia by the blood spot. Initially, we were thinking that we would not be able to do it by HPLC because the predominant hemoglobin in the newborn period is the hemoglobin F, and a very small fraction is the hemoglobin A. So if you can detect that very small fraction of the hemoglobin A, now beta thalassemia major is alpha 2 beta 2. So if there are no beta chains, there will be no hemoglobin A. So if you can detect those small quantities of absent hemoglobin A, yes, you can detect thalassemia as well. So at least a lot of you answered good questions, and I'm really happy that the batch is an interactive batch despite this class being there with all the odds of an online teaching program. So let's look at the first disorder, and many of you answered hypothyroidism very correctly, and the topic is also hypothyroidism. So can you imagine the test available? Now, again, a question to some of you. um, I have the option of doing T4 and TSH. Why and what should I choose? Why should I take TSH and when should I take T4, or should I take both? Yeah, there are some answers coming in there. Uh, Cystic fibrosis also came, congenital adrenal hyperplasia also came. TSH, as it will be raised. Somebody said both. So I agree with last three of you, both. But the government will not give me money, number one. Number two, there are certain other reasons in hypothyroidism where I would prefer to take TSH. So, uh, and here I'm going to give you 4 or 5 clinical scenarios. These are not included in my slides, particularly because they're now shared and recorded. That's why I don't include those questions with chocolates in the slide. So, first is uh, I have a child who is 10 years old. She basically consults the pediatric OPD for being short in the class. And in fact, she's the shortest in the entire class. So her height is really the first to go if there is a sports class. Okay. She also comes to me and the unit, and we see that her chronological age, that means her actual age is 10 years. Her height age is 6 years. And her bone age is 4 years. So that means in short stature, you need to know what is the height age, the bone age, and the chronological age. right? So can anybody tell me what is this equation and what will you think and why? So I think I could repeat the question for you. Yes, I already have an answer coming in. Let me see what the answer is. TSH is enough to detect. We can't measure 0. No, no, we can measure, Lilian. We can actually measure up to femtoliters with the technology that we have now. CDGP, what does that mean, Priyansh? I can't follow this acronym. So please type what you wrote. I can see your name there, but I can't see what do you mean by CDGP. Okay, a little bit forward. Whenever relationship is like this, that means the bone age is even. Now, what do you mean by height age? Height age means a normal child of 6 years would have that height at 50th percentile, which she is having at the age of 10 years. So at the age of 10 years, her height should have been much more. But she is following the 50th percentile for a 6-year-old child. That means her height age is 6 years. You do a wrist x ray and you count the number of carpal bones. They are just 4. So her bone age is 4 years. So in the evaluation of short stature, we got a situation in which chronological age was more than the height age, which was more than the bone age. A very typical prototype of hypothyroidism, because the skeleton very much thrives on the TSH axis. So the bone is really very important in the initial period before the epiphysis close. So that actually it's an excellent way of checking hypothyroidism. So that was what this baby had. But now there was a clinical sign in this baby. So if I make a fist, you can see all my knuckles. But this baby had a knuckle dimple sign. That means there was no knuckle at the third or the fourth finger, or the fourth and the fifth finger. Can anybody suggest the diagnosis? And for sure, that person will get a big chocolate. I'm giving you time to look at the internet also. But if you know it, you know it. I am looking at whether you have any answers to this. Yes, I'm getting a. Right. So we have a lot of individuals saying Albright's osteodystrophy. My God. So do you think I would have to give chocolates to how many of you? So Nilyan is correct. Shivika is correct. Raghav Gera is correct. Uh, Turner, yes, quite resembles this, Swati. And they are also short, and they may also have hypothyroidism. So I need this to give to you as well. But the question here with the knuckle dimple sign was Albright's osteodystrophy. So which was answered by most of you, which is also called pseudohyperparathyroidism. Excellent. So what is abnormal here? They are short, but the growth hormone is high. They have tetany, but their parathyroid is high. That's why you call pseudo hyperparathyroidism, right? So they have something wrong. Where is this something wrong? सारे हॉर्मोन्स तो बढ़े हुए हैं. ग्रोथ हार्मोन 30, 40, 50, 60 है. TSH 100 है. लेकिन बच्चा छोटा भी है, उसको टेटनी भी हो गई है. उसको इतना कैल्शियम दिया है कि he has deposited some calcific areas in the brain. He has abnormal dentition. Where is the defect in the thyroid axis here? Yes, answers. So many of you answered previously. सारे हॉर्मोन्स, चाहे वो ग्रोथ हार्मोन हो, पैराथायरॉयड हार्मोन हो या TSH हो, कौन से रिसेप्टर पे एक्ट करते हैं? Now I think I should have the answer from one of you. Yes, at least somebody coming with the answer. Uh, yes, they're in all the receptors. So it's a receptor problem. All the hormones are working well, but the receptor is not working. Okay, so this was one reason why you could have got hypothyroidism. And a very keen look at a 1-year-old would have also told you, if you would not have done newborn screening, that this baby is having hypothyroidism. Treat this baby, right? So if you look at the age of detection in India has been 4.7 years versus birth in most of the countries, and the every month the baby loses 3 to 5 IQ points. So at 1 year, 10 into 12, 120, वो तो IQ ही नहीं होगी उसकी. 3 into 12, that many IQ points would be lost. And that you would never be able to recover even after you give thyroxine supplementation. Okay, so the next chocolate, so somebody who said, please note down your name so that I remember how many of you answered, and you also got a chocolate for the answer. Now here, this is a male neonate coming to you at 18 hours of life. He comes because the mother notices the child is having seizures. You check the baby, and no, hypothyroidism is not a cause of seizures. No, no. Then how is it coming in this tutorial? So there are two questions. One, what on clinical examination something wrong with thyroid? There is something wrong, and that something wrong is at that level. Yes, I already have an answer right there. Let me see who this person is. Yes, the seizure was because of hypoglycemia, right? Resistance to. But where is the problem? And what is the clinical examination that you will conduct in this neonate that will make you nearly 100% sure? Oh, problem to yahan hai. Yes, I have an answer coming, and that's no, it's not Kalman syndrome. My question is a bit different. My question is, Isha, my question is that one, what clinical examination बच्चे में उस मेल इन्फेंट में आप क्या देखोगे जो आपको इस बच्चे में हाइपोथायरॉइड होने के चांसेस बता दे, और डिफेक्ट किस लेवल पे होगा? Answer is very clear, it's in the question itself. This is a male neonate. You, two of you answered that the seizures were because of hypoglycemia, which is correct, right? But if you do a filter paper test, this baby will not pass the filter paper test. His TSH will not be raised. Yes. What is the hint? Yes, I'm getting an answer. That's perfect. Let me see. Head circumference, no. Reflexes. Yeah, in newborns, the reflexes are primitive actually, and only by 3 to 4 months of age, you start getting really good reflexes with a brisk knee jerk. Very difficult to elicit real good reflexes, barring Moro's and asymmetric or symmetric tonic neck reflexes. So usually not reflexes. Yes. अच्छा, एक हिंट ये है, क्लेफ्ट लिप तो बिल्कुल सेंटर में था, मिड लाइन था. हाइपोग्लाइसीमिया भी हो गया. Any answers? I'm just waiting for the chat box to open up. Yes, it's opened up. Right. So axis, hypothalamic axis immaturity. Right, absolutely. So what's wrong? This baby has pan hypopituitarism. It's It's yes in the hypothalamic axis. So I'll give you, Pragya, this correct, because pituitary is the main orchestrating hormone which controls all the axis: thyroid, cortisol. Cortisol is important for maintaining euglycemia, and there are and hypoglycemia is one of the commonest causes of neonatal seizures. And that cleft lip, small cleft lip, make me think कि और कोई मिडलाइन में डिफेक्ट तो नहीं है इसको, और वो जो मिडलाइन ऑर्गन है वो पिट्यूटरी है, ठीक है. So yes, there is a defect. One part of the question was answered by Pragya. I want somebody to answer the second part of the question. तुमने सोच तो लिया कि इसको पैन हाइपोपिट है और वो बहुत ही करेक्ट था, बट उस मेल इन्फेंट में कुछ ऐसी और चीज भी दिख सकती है जो आपको बता सकती है कि इसको पैन हाइपोपिट है. आंसर क्वेश्चन में ही एम्बेडेड है, यू डोंट नीड टू थिंक. Yes, just waiting. Yes, I already have somebody answering it. Right, Ria here. Ria, yes, the genitalia will be ambiguous because for the first 3 months of life, it's where they are not forming the right amount of steroid hormones, and that also includes testosterone. So they will have a micropenis. So a neonate who comes seizuring with hypoglycemia and a micropenis by default has panhypopituitarism with a defect in the CNS. That means at the level of pituitary. And here, because TSH is a hormone which tells you mainly about thyroid, it's a negative reflex which tells the hypothalamus to produce more and more of TSH, while the thyroid itself produces thyroxine. So you know that the stimulus is not going to the pituitary. Yeah, the stimulus is going to the pituitary because thyroid is well formed, but it's the pituitary which is not responding. And therefore, that's good, Ria. You answered the question correctly. So this was the second clinical scenario, and I'll have one more. The last clinical scenario for all of you. I think this is two of them are very, very easy. A baby who has sensory neural hearing loss and also has hypothyroidism. What does he have? Yes, I think this all of you know. सबको पता है syndrome का नाम. Yes, Pendred. Yes, Nilayan Sarkar. Good. Yes, it's Pendred syndrome. Here there is a defect in deiodination, right? So you can have a defect in the pituitary gland. You can have a defect in the hypothalamic pituitary axis. You can have a defect in the thyroid gland, right? Now, if one of you were to become a surgeon and somebody comes to you with a swollen midline swelling just beneath the mandible, and when he deglutates, that swollen midline swelling also moves. He says, I'm really getting upset with this swelling. Just remove it. What could the surgeon do wrong? Obviously, everything here is in context to thyroid. So it's quite easy, yes. Right, so let's see who written the answer. It could be a thyroid. Yes, actually, he might actually remove the only ectopic thyroid that he has. So we know that there is a descent. This was Pariniti, 146 roll number. Very good. So what's somebody also wrote thyroglossal cyst, but then usually this is an ectopic thyroid, which might have an associated cyst. I'm not negating that, but it could be ectopic. So the problem could be in the center, it could be in the pathway, it could be in the thyroid gland, it could be at the receptor, and any of these can cause congenital hypothyroidism, right? Now, the last question for this session for hypothyroidism. Now, this is a mother who comes to you because you have a very good nursing home in South Delhi, right? And She has come from Japan to her mother's house for her second delivery. So you have just been taught newborn screening for hypothyroidism and you tell her, देखो तुम्हारा तो 100 आ गई है, value cut off 20 होती है. This child is having hypothyroidism और इसका thyroid बना नहीं हुआ, इसको पूरी जिंदगी treatment देनी पड़ेगी. But the mother is more intelligent than you. She says, no, look, doctor, my baby will be all right after 6 months. And she says that with strong confidence. What do you think would be the answer and where is the problem here? Yes, there is an answer coming in. Wow, very good. So, yes, excellent batch. Yes, there could be maternal antibodies. That is Shreya Sood. There could be maternal antibodies, and you would be surprised that these maternal antibodies cross the placenta into the fetal tissue, remain till about 3 to 6 months of life, and actually also inhibit the radionucleotide uptake. So, if you do a technetium scan for thyroid in these children, you will actually not be able to locate the gland. And you will think, oh, the thyroid bana hi nahi hua, agenesis hai. But then these antibodies can even prevent the uptake of thyroid. Yes, it could be drugs. It could be Wolff-Chaikoff effect, and that was Shivika Verma. Good. Shiviha. Some real good students again in your batch. Yes. So both iodine deficiency and iodine excess can give rise to high TSH at birth. So you can't tell the excess of iodine. You have to be very careful. So that was really good that this answer was given. So these are the situations you will think about congenital hyperthyroidism. So what's the frequency? It's very high, and my next slide is just going to tell you that it is the most important preventable cause of mental retardation, and by all means, that means incidence wise. So if I look at the incidence, this is incidence across India alone. So you can imagine from our study, it was the last study in 2007 was 1 in 1130, and now it is 1,250. But roughly you can see figures even up to 1 in 900, 1 in 2,804. So if we have one birth every second in India, imagine every day how many babies will be born just with congenital hypothyroidism. So we should be doing preemptively to prevent it. So it has been included in one of the recent programs, which is called Rashtriya Bal Swasth Karikram. This can also come to you as a short note because this is now the program which deals at diseases, deficiencies, disabilities, and delays, 4Ds of life. So it has been included, therefore, very, very important. The second disease that should be included, and let me now relate to you a very bad story. I can't say it's bad. Don't please pass my name on to this. I was speaking to somebody in the bureaucracy and telling them कि बहुत सारे mentally retarded बच्चे पैदा हो सकते हैं, mental retardation को हम बचा सकते हैं. और मतलब वो मेरे को तो नहीं देखा था, इधर उधर देख रहा था. Then I thought कि ये लग रहा है कि mental retardation is not going to affect their political background. So I asked them, कितनी बार दिल्ली की रेड लाइट पे आपको रोका गया? How many times did somebody come and knock onto your window and ask for money? Which community has gone so strong that they're asking for a seat in the parliament? Which parent is so upset that he cannot name his child because if it's a female child, she would be virilized. If it's a male child, this male child will die in the first 3 weeks of life. If it is a salt wasting well. At this point of time, they said, oh yes, newborn screening is very important. So Congenital adrenal hyperplasia is the next target, for which neonatal 17-hydroxyprogesterone is the test, which is easily available. If you look at the data from India of an adult community, babies with congenital adrenal hyperplasia who had grown up, 66, of which 62 were females and 40, and only 4 were males. Where did the rest of the females go? This is an autosomal recessive condition. This is not an X-linked recessive condition. So all the males died because of no corticosteroids. They will present like dehydration. So they will be thought कि either इसको sepsis है या diarrhea dehydration है, because they have nothing on the genitalia. It's only a female genitalia which will be virilized. So it is one of those disorders which is genetic but has sex influencing phenotype. The phenotype only expresses as virilization in girls and has no signs and symptoms in a male child. So imagine all the salt wasters would go. And the frequency is as common as 1 in 2000 to 1 in 7,500 to 1 in 10,000. Still a very high disorder for our country. So these are the two important targets. And of the people who are bought with ambiguous genitalia, only 1 in 53 is actually bought after birth. Otherwise, the entire regional community frisks these babies away and brings up their own community. What all do you require? Just glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids and a very small surgery which is called clitoroplasty in these females, and they can actually grow up to have normal births, normal life, and completely prevent morbidity and mortality. So for such simple tests which are so frequent in our country, for which there is no symptom in a male, there is some bit of symptom in a female, but the mother or the parent doesn't want to recognize that. So these are important issues. Yes, there is some question coming in. Yes, uh, we do not call them by that name now. We usually use the word transgender. That's good. So that's the word to be used. Now coming to the third disorder, which should be done at least in Delhi, is G6PD. And I was actually talking for what G6PD presentation in the problems that we have in to Pranesh in Canada, and all of them asked me, because they don't have much of G6PD there, why don't you do transcutaneous bilirubinometry? तुम्हें पता चल जाएगा G6PD basically causes hyperbilirubinemia at birth, and these babies can develop kernicterus. तो G6PD टेस्ट करने से तो अच्छा है कि उसको ट्रांसक्यूटेनियस बिलिरुबिनोमेट्री कर लो सारे बच्चों की. हाँ, कैन एनीबडी आंसर कि इंडिया के पैराडाइम में या लो मिडिल इनकम कंट्रीज के पैराडाइम में क्या इंपॉर्टेंस हो सकती है G6PD की? Yes, I have one answer coming by. Very good. Somebody said that now we are giving malaria drugs without even checking by rapid diagnostic tests. And these babies who actually have malaria and are given anti-malarial drugs can develop. This is Ninkita Kaldra, right? So that's one of the reasons why. But the reason why I had to give was, if I have 100 deliveries in a day or 60 deliveries in a day, how do I know I want to call these two babies back tomorrow and day after tomorrow and not at day 10 of life? If it's an ABO incompatibility, I will obviously not discharge the baby. If he has a large kidney hematoma, I will not discharge that baby. But is G6PD written anywhere? So which is the child out of the 40 I am discharging today, I need to follow? And transcutaneous bilirubinometry will have to be done every day. Here, enzymes you just do, if you find it deficient, बोलो इस बच्चे को frequently दिखाना, हर दूसरे दिन दिखाना, देखते रहना, हल्का भी पीला हो गया तो मुझे दिखा दो. So it is the triaging and a disorder for which the incidence is unimaginably high. I can just tell you the frequency of this condition. Look at this. From our own data, it is 1 in 192. But from all, look at the figures. So even if I take the biggest figure here, which is 1 in 263, imagine how many of us must actually be having G6PD deficiency, right? And now, lately in the year 2018, there was a research which was done in India, yet not supported by enough literature. But I just want to bring it, some of you could just work on it when you become doctors. That there is less of Alzheimer's, less of frontotemporal dementia, and some way Indians are neuroprotective. They remain cognitively much alert compared to Caucasians. Is this G6PD also neuroprotective? God knows. Just a food for thought. Just one study cannot be a dictum, cannot be used, but gives you food for thought. जब भी जेनेटिक एवोल्यूशन होती है कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा होता है, और क्या अच्छा होगा? सिर्फ इसलिए कि G6PD बर्थ पे कनेक्टर्स कॉज नहीं करेगा, या इसके कोई लॉन्ग टर्म सीक्वेल भी हो सकते हैं जिसको अगर हम आज डिटेक्ट कर लेंगे, ट्रीटमेंट क्या करनी है हमें? उसको बोलना है बस ये ड्रग्स नहीं लेनी और ये खाने पीने की चीजें नहीं लेनी, और वो जो खाने पीने की चीजें हैं वो एक्चुअली इंडिया में मिलती नहीं है. जो ब्रॉड बीन्स हैं, fava beans हैं, we are actually don't sell them in India. So practically he can eat everything, but whenever he goes to the doctor, he carries that he has a G6PD deficiency. So these are the drugs which are contraindicated in children. So the treatment cost is zero. The benefit 100%. So if I talk about cost to benefit ratio, nothing better than G6PD. But the morbidity and mortality in the neonatal period as well as the adult period is not so high. So yes, it's important, right? So rapid malarial test, triaging, more cost effective than transcutaneous. And the variant which is there in India is a Mediterranean variant. It's gone into publication. So this is a little more severe variant. So multiple types of mutations in G6PD, of which the most severe is the Mediterranean variant. And that's what we have in our country. So at least for the northern part of India, CH, CAH, and G6PD should be included in the newborn screening program. Other disorders could be biotinidase, galactosemia, cystic fibrosis. Now people are doing DMD and SCID. Now, why do you think people are doing DMD and SCID now? Yes, somebody in the chat box. Obviously, ये दोनों diagnosis molecularly बनते हैं, biochemically नहीं बनते हैं, और आजकल everybody can take out DNA from this filter paper and do any kind of testing. So yes, I would like to read the answer. Somebody has given the answer. Physiological weak. Yes, right, Pratik Chauhan, yes. Not only gene therapy, but drugs, antisense oligonucleotides, and much more is in the therapy for DMD, spinal muscular atrophy, and severe combined immunodeficiency. If you only do a bone marrow transplant, for which you're getting money now from Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi, you will never require to give this child IV, IEG throughout life. So yes, but still we are not even doing hypothyroid. So where can we ask the government to help us with these disorders? So we have currently included only 2 of these disorders and sickle cell anemia in areas where sickle cell is very common. We have 2 new drugs for sickle cell. So yes, for galactosemia, it's a disorder which is common 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 80,000. You have everywhere now. Soya milk of all varieties is available, is free of galactose. कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं, किसी भी स्टोर पे मिल जाएगा. That's all you have to give to this child. And it's economical. But the incidence from India is 1 in 60,000. So first of all, prove yourself by doing thyroid. This can also be included in the newborn screening program for G6PD. Now, this is one program, one disease, which presents as sudden infant death syndrome. बच्चा कॉट में पड़ा था, उल्टा लेटा था, मर गया. कोई कारण समझ में नहीं आया. Sudden infant death syndrome or Ray's syndrome. Anybody who can tell what this disease is and what is the treatment? My looking at the chat box. If you take more time, you could have looked up your mobile phones, what is MCAD or Wikipedia में आए ऊपर से आएगा होता. Anyway, उतना भी effort कर लिया, it's good for me. Yes. Carnitine deficiency. Mm, not exactly, but you in fact don't give too many carnitines in this condition. This is medium chain acyl CoA dehydrogenase deficiency, a disorder where medium chain triglycerides are metabolized. So you know what these babies require? They require feeding every 3 hours. बस एक ही ट्रीटमेंट है. 3-3 घंटे में फीड करो. रात को अनकुक्ड कॉर्न स्टार्च दे दो. वो स्लोली शुगर रिलीज करता रहेगा. बच्चे का शुगर लेवल्स कभी नहीं गिरेगा. Baby died because of asymptomatic hypoglycemia, which was not noticed, and also present like cyst syndrome. But this requires a technology called mass spectrometry, for which we do have at MAMC, but many other labs across the country do not have this technology, and therefore we cannot adopt this at a national level till we have many more labs possess the technology. Yes, we have a lot of private labs who are doing it now, and probably sometime down the lane, we will also be saying, okay, do MCAD. But pehle thyroid to kar lein. That's my most important message. Do what you can do. MCAD is very high. The incidence is 1 in 1500. All you need is avoid fasting, right? So this has come expanded newborn screening, which checks for phenylketonuria, fatty acid oxidation defects, amino acid oxidation defects, is done by tandem mass spectrometry. And at least you should do it in all sick care newborn units. Reason being, so this is what our data says from a multicentric. We did 2,200,000 babies. We found 119 babies with hypothyroidism, 19 babies with congenital adrenal hyperplasia, 3 babies with biotinidase deficiency, 3 babies with galactosemia, 1,024 babies, of which 2 expired of G6PD. You can imagine what's many more disorders like tyrosinemia, citrullinemia, and carnitine deficiency can be picked up. And this is so at least in areas where there is consanguinity, where mortalities are high, because at least in NICUs and the sick care newborn units should be doing the screening for amino acids, fatty acids. Now, sorry for this slide. This is a couple of 1 or 2 years old. I had written diets are likely to be available soon. I'm sorry, diets are already available. Indian made diets, not imported from any company outside the country. Till last year, we had just 1 firm. Now we have 3 firms making diets for IEM. So we have diets. This is a score which is given to any country. If screening is done, what will be the benefit? Biotinidase, congenital hypothyroidism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, sickle cell anemia, and medium chain acyl CoA dehydrogenase. अगर शुरू करनी है तो ये 5 डिसऑर्डर्स होने चाहिए, बट हमारे पास हम सिर्फ इन 2 डिसऑर्डर्स के साथ शुरू कर रहे हैं, because we don't want to burden with too many, and we are not going to get them that much money till we prove ourselves at least in these 2 disorders. हर बच्चे को स्क्रीन करना, right? So there are other disorders you can screen for: lysosomal storage disorders. So you can screen for Pompe's disorder, Fragile X. Disadvantages: the mother will always be tamed for life. But remember, should we give this to private labs? Remember, this is a public health program, which is not just a test. It requires, look at the T's: pre-test counseling, taking the sample, transporting the sample, testing the sample, retesting in certain situations, giving post-test counseling, tracking the newborn, calling him back, and doing confirmatory testing. All the T's. कुछ भी गड़बड़ हो गया तो newborn screening will go. And all gynecologists or would-be gynecologists, please talk to your mothers about the benefit of screening as you talk about the benefit of breastfeeding. As important as that. And I've shown you. Worst, Hearing affects NICU graduates with 1 in 300 babies, those who are born in the NICU. So you do a process which is called otoacoustic emission by 10 days, confirmed by BERA, and provide hearing aid by 10 days. This is by 136, by 1 month confirm, by 1 month diagnose, by 3 months confirm, and by 6 months give some aid, so that for a cochlear implant. What is our problem? हमें कुछ तो ऐसा बताना पड़ेगा ना कि वो स्क्रीनिंग के लिए आगे आए. तो मैं आप लोगों को बोलूंगी कि कोई वीडियो बनाओ और ब्रिंग अप सम गुड मटेरियल. जैसे किसी ने ये लिखा है, एक मैं नन्हा सा इंसान हूँ, एक धड़कन एक जान हूँ, सफल नवजात स्क्रीनिंग से बड़ा हुआ हूँ, देखो आज इस देश की शान हूँ. सर्वत्र नवजात स्क्रीनिंग अपनाएं और देश को और आगे बढ़ाएं. Something that motivates mothers to come forward. So we require sessions. We require to give them some incentives. We need to tell the ASHA workers, getting the mother in the first trimester and sensitizing this mother for newborn screening is very, very important. But yes, in data, we have 2851 births per hour in the country. But with JSKY, many of these are covered. So we need to make them multilingual, multi-ethnic, put everybody in the team, the health, state health work, IAP, National Neonatology Forum, Federation of Gynecology, ASHA workers, all the doctors. It should form an integral part of the UG syllabus. So until unless you've seen the advantage of in your undergraduate curriculum, you would never be able to make important sense of it once you grow up. And now we have now made a mobile app, and all those who we don't have it on the iOS platform as yet, but all those who have on the platform for Windows can just see Mission Neve. You can download the app. This says that Neve is a program that is going to be started. Neve in Hindi is the Dehleej, Shuruaat. The acronym for English is Neonatal Early Evaluation Vision. And with that, all of us should actually say that this is an important program, as important as immunization, and therefore we should actually hold this program. So I think I will stop sharing the screen. Are there any questions for me? As a specific request, yes, there is a question. Ma'am, you've changed the way we look at diseases. Thank you so much, Pariniti, and the entire class for being so interactive. Despite being an online class, I definitely think all of you will support Mission Neve. And for years to come, MAMC will be recognized as spearheading the entire state of Delhi for this program. So all of you who want to come forward and participate, please give your names. We will make Nukkad Nataks, anything which goes viral on media to make them understand the importance of newborn screening. Thank you so much, dear friends. Bye. The attendance has already been marked by Meenakshi, and I actually don't want to look at attendance because it's the impartation of knowledge which is much more important than the physical presence of an individual. Thank you.